All right, so here we're going to, in this video, rig a character. So we're going to learn the hierarchy for rigging, and we have to follow a pretty strict naming convention and make sure that we name all of the joints. So I'm going to use my bodybuilder character that I did. And if you don't have access to your bodybuilder character because it might be on the L drive or whatever, then you can download mine. I'll put it up on Blackboard for you. But I do want you to use your character. Um, so a couple housekeeping things. I have my character on this X0 position so that you have to have that so that your bones go straight down the middle. And also I have the center point down here in 0, 0, 0. And you remember how to do that. Hold down D and hold down X, and that will snap to grid. You can change the center point. Let's see, what other kinds of things here? Remember that, I'm going to turn off the grid. Remember that when you're creating the joints, you have to create them in a front or side view. Otherwise, they're going to be all over the place, and you don't want to move joints willy-nilly. So if I create a joint here, you might think that this is going straight up because that's what it looks like in the window. But if I back up and then I move around, it is not going straight up at all. So that's why I had to do it in a front view. So let's see here. We're going to start first by making this side going from the right view. And if I put in, if I put a joint here, go to the skeleton, create joints. It may look like you did nothing, but in reality, I did actually create some joints. And the way to see the joints that you're making is you go to shading, and you go to X-ray joints, and the joints will always show up. All right, so let's start with the spine. So the first thing that we do is recognize that joints are not necessarily the same as like actual like bones. The joints, the way that they affect the vertices around them, they have to be in the center of mass in order for when you smooth bind that it can calculate and control all of the vertices around the joint. So I'm going to start with the root. We create a joint. Let's go into the option box first. I like to have them at about 1.5 for the for the radius for both of them. These other ones are okay. It also depends too on what size your character is. If your character is a lot bigger, you're gonna want to change that around. But in general, you want to be able to see your joints with a little bit of volume. So our root is going to go right about over here. Start a little bit over, right where, like lower than the lowest vertebrae. The lowest vertebrae would be right over here, lumbar 5 about, and then it goes down into the sacrum. So start about over here, right in the center of mass, go right to about the belly button over there, right about over here in the right underneath the pectoral, and right in the middle here, all around everything around there, and right about here for the neck. And then this last joint is going to be for the head, and this will control the head rotating or moving up and down, whatever. All right, so you see it looks a little bit like a spine kind of thing, but that's just because it's going within the center of all the mass. So we'll go, let's see now, let's move some of these guys around. Now, you remember also that when we talked about joints in the Intro to Joints video, that there's a hierarchy. It's a parent-child hierarchy. So if I choose the parent or the root to everything, it's going to move everything. If I go down one and choose a child, all the lower children are going to move like that. But if we have one that is needs a little bit of correction, as some children do, you can do preserve children. And then we can click on one of those, and then we can move it around individually. I think that's a little bit good there. Out there. Yeah, those look good. Okay, turn that off. All right, so there is the beginning of our rig. If we look at it from the front, you can see that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, so let's open up our hierarchy here, and we're going to name it. So the base one, we're going to name that one root, not Groot. And this one is going to be spine 1. This will be spine 2. This is spine 3. This is head. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. This is neck. And this is head. Now I'm changing this just by clicking on one of these joints, double clicking rather, and then it allows me to rename it. With that set, we're going to do the arm. So we'll go to front. Now the arm is a little bit funky. Well, all of it is. And we go to create joints, and we go to right about the center, maybe a little bit above, and click about there. But then we're going to click right down to about over here. And you'll notice this is moving around with me because I am moving it around at the same time. All right, because I was holding down the button and moving it. So he's not going to have just a single arm like that animated short in Sesame Street, but we're going to add the elbow as soon as we get this into the proper position. So I go to move right around over there, click on this one, and move it right to about where it needs to be. And we do it this way because this helps in making sure that the rotation of the elbow is properly set up. Now we go over to skeleton insert joints, and we click and hold on the joint that we want to insert on, and then we move it down to where the elbow is going to be. So the elbow should be right about, I think, over there. I'm going to look on the right side. There's my puppies. And I'm going to preserve children, so I'm just going to move that elbow to the right spot. And right about there. Don't do too much moving around. Now, to make sure that the joint is rotating in the proper spot, I'm going to check here in the front. I want that one to change. All right, so let's make sure that's off. Good. Let's make sure that it's going to rotate properly. We'll go into perspective, and then we will click rotate. All right, so if that was an arm, it would definitely rotate in that fashion. Good. Okay, so now we're going to connect the arm to the spine. Now I can't just connect this one, or parent rather, this one over here. We need to have an extra interstitial bone, I think is what it's called. But it's the clavicle, and the clavicle will enable the character to shrug and have other kind of demonstrative actions. So to do that, we're just going to create a joint in the middle of nowhere. So we go like this, right about where the clavicle might be, right there. So that is just a free-floating joint. What we want to do now with that is we click on this joint here, click on this one, and press P. Now, if I clicked on the other direction, it might actually, the hierarchy would be a little bit off. But we didn't do that, so everything's great. This one is not in the right spot, so I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to move it back just a little bit so it's in the center of mass. Turn that off. Good. Okay, so we have our clavicle. Now I'm going to shift-click right here on this spine, spine 3, and then press P again, and now we have connected our arm. Right. Now make sure preserve children's off, and Now if I move this up here and I rotate this one, you can see that would be what it's like if he shrugged. But he's not shrugging. Now is not the time to shrug or shirk. Okay, now let's make the leg. So to make the leg, we're going to do the same thing as the arm. Create joints. We're going to go to about the center of mass, right about over there. And then we're going to go down to the ankle. Good, okay. And now we're going to insert that joint. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to make sure it's in the right spot. Center of mass, right about there. Click on the ankle, move it right about over there. Excellent. And now we're going to add the knee. So we go to Insert Joints, click and hold, and drag. Knee should be right about over there. That's about it. Right. Let's move that forward just a skosh. Move that back a skosh. All right. Skosh is short for skoshi, which means little in Japanese. Okay, so we have that. Now we want to connect our leg to our root. So I clicked on that one, I shift click on that one, I press P, and now we've connected that. All right, looking good. Let's add the foot. So the foot, we're not going to add bones going down like that, going over here, going into toes. We don't need to do that because unless you have some crazy circus skills, we can't move our toes independently. So I'm going to go into the right view, and I'm going to do like we did before with the clavicle and just create a single bone right about over there. And go into perspective view, and I'm going to move that into right about over there, the center of the foot. That looks good. All right, that should work. With that one selected, we're going down the hierarchy. I'm going to press P, and then we have our foot. All right, before we go crazy, much more crazy, we have to name our joints. We've actually been a little bit lazy on that. So this one is our clavicle, and now it's important to add this prefix. It's L underscore. Some people do it differently. The way Unreal does it is a little different. They do the name and then they do underscore L, which is lowercase. I tend to like to do capital L underscore and then the name. So capital L underscore clavicle. And then this one will be capital L underscore upper arm over here. Capital L underscore forearm, or you can do lower arm if you want. And then this over here, we're going to do L underscore wrist. Okay. Now with the leg, this is going to be this one right, oop, there we go. That one is going to be L underscore upper leg. This one over here is going to be L underscore shin or calf, but I'm a forward-thinking person, so that's in front of the calf. L underscore ankle. And then the tip or the ball is L underscore ball. All right, so we have everything named wonderfully. Now we need to do the hand. Now the hand can be a little bit complicated, and because there are so many bones that are in the hand. So what we'll do is we'll first do one finger, and then we're going to duplicate them around. The thumb is a little bit different because it goes on a bit of a 45-degree angle, as you saw when we modeled it. So we're going to do this in the side view, or the right view, which is what we're looking at. And we go to skeleton, create joints, and I'm going to hold down X so everything is all in one line. So I click once, click twice, and then the middle bone, and then the tip. So there we are, 4 times the finger. But we're going to open that up. I'm going to select these guys. Let's make it 0.25. That will make the bones a little bit smaller. And like I said before, if your model is a little bit bigger, it might change those numbers a little bit. Now we can't really just go here and scale if we want to scale it, because we're just going to scale like one of those bones. It's kind of good to avoid any kind of scaling at all on these bones. You have to be a little careful of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move these guys up just a little bit. Skosh. Okay, click at the base of that. Now I'll move it right about where that knuckle will be. Excellent. Now I will rotate it so I get it right along the whole line of the finger. And in here, I'm going to actually move it again, but I'm going to make sure that everything is all in a straight line. If it's not in a straight line, you can run into some issues with the fingers bending because you want it to look natural. All right. This goes right at the tip of the finger. Great. Okay, so we have one finger. Now we're going to take that, press Control D, duplicate it. I'm going to put it right over the knuckle there. Control D again, put it right over the knuckle there. Control D again, right over the knuckle there. And then rotate them so it goes straight down the finger. Here, straight down the finger. Straight down the finger. Okay. Those look good. This one might go in just a little. Definitely go in a little. And this one might be a little longer. This one goes down to the tip. There. Down to the tip. There. Down to the tip. All right, so we have those guys going. Now we want to get our thumb. So the thumb is going to be a little bit weird. Before we do the thumb, actually, let's put these fingers in the right spot. You'll notice that the fingers are definitely not in the spot where we want them to be. We want them to be right where they are on the hand. So that's good. Let's also rotate them just a little bit. And you'll notice, actually I'm going to put on wireframe unshaded so I can see a little bit more of the volume. I'll do a lot of rotating of the character so I can see that everything is set up correctly. If I'm just moving something over here, I might be mistaken about where it is sitting. It's easier if if you're looking at something in like full 3D, like you're sculpting something or you're looking at it with VR glasses, but since we're not, we have to move it around. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit so it goes along the line of the finger. Select that, rotate it to the tip. Right, so that's going along. Actually, I would rather have this rotate down a little. And I'm only going to rotate on the axis that the finger is going to rotate on. If I rotate any other way, once you actually start, when you bind it, you're going to get some really bad results. And there. There we are. Looks good. All right, let's do a thumb. Take this, duplicate. Now with the thumb, you're going to have the section right over there. Do I have that thing loaded? Yes, I do. Okay, just draw on the screen here. with a thumb, no, it's not going to be drawing on the screen. Okay, so with the thumb, your joints are going to be right around over here and right around over here. And then, of course, and our wrist is going to be over here. And then there's the little section where it connects over there. This is right over here in our bodies where all the little tiny joints are. So it all connects over here. I don't know how many. There's like 7 little bones on the wrist. Kind of crazy. So that's how it's going to be all connected up over there. These guys are going to end up being connected like this, but we're not going to make all of those joints. We're actually just going to click on each one of these and then press P. Once we have the wrist connected, it'll make all those for us. All right. So now we need to put this in the right spot. So let's put it right about over there. And we'll go into perspective view. Get in the right location. So now we have to rotate it, and you'll notice that the finger's already rotated a little bit, so that'll give us a good hint as to the rotation of the thumb. So I can see that that's almost there. Is that rotating the way the thumb rotates? Almost. Looking better. Looks about right. Might want to move it down just a little bit in the hand. All the while thinking about where it would be if it rotates. Good, okay. Now I'm going to rotate that out to be a little bit more in the thumb spot. And that's about right. But our little tip is not in the right spot. With this, I'm going to go into the right side just to make sure we're in a proper spot. Okay, now perspective view. Okay, so now let's rotate it. Make sure the thumb looks the way that it would look if we were to rotate it. If we were, nope, wrong one. If we were to compress it. Or make a fist, rather. Good. Okay, that looks right. So let's bring that back. Excellent. Okay, so we're set. Our thumb is in the right spot. Before we connect them all up, let's name them. So here is our thumb. We're going to call it L_thumb. And we're going to click on this. We're going to call this one L_index. We're going to click on this one. We're going to call that one L_middle. Click on this one, L_ring. And then the last one, L_pinky. And to connect them all up, we're going to click these guys. Shift click on the wrist, press P, and we have connected. Click on the thumb, click on the wrist, and P there. Now, it looks a little bit muddy there. Then the best way to fix that is to go over to the wrist, and we're going to change that to, we'll try 0.5. Yes, that looks better. Now we can see exactly what's going on there with the wrist. Everything looks good, like it's in the right spot. So there we go. Okay. Now we have half of it. So we're going to just do everything that we did on one side and move it around. Just kidding. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to mirror it. I tried to trick you. Oh, sorry, puppy. Right at my feet. Okay, so click on this one. Now here is why the naming convention was actually important. Because when we mirror it, it's going to change the name from L_clavicle to R_clavicle automatically. The wonders of technology. Will they ever cease? So let's go over to mirror joints and the option box. In general, it should work with YZ. You'll want it set to behavior. Search for L_, replace with R_, and we have the clavicle selected. and we click mirror, and mirror's right there, and it's even parented it for us. And we can see that since my character was symmetrically created, that it's in the perfect spot. So I'm going to click on the top of the leg over here, like that, and I'm going to go over to mirror joints, option box, YZ, behavior, LR, mirror, and we're all set. So there is our rig. And we can also check to make sure that things are going to rotate properly. And that looks about right. Remember to always undo so it goes back to the same spot. And I'm going to save that out. I'm going to call that Bodybuilder for Rigging 2 because it's good to increment and save. And in the next video, we're going to bind it, and I'll show you how to do some weight painting, and we'll have your character moving around. All right, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.